Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 11. Kind of crazy that we are kind of almost done with this semester, which, yeah, it's kind of flown by. Hopefully, you're enjoying the material. These past few weeks, we have been examining something that's called stratification. And if you recall, that's just basically dividing us in some way or another in that there's a hierarchy and sometimes there isn't, and other things kind of get into play with that. I made a word cloud over here on the left that kind of has some of the key terms that we've been talking about, and some of them you might recognize and some of them you might not recognize, since we'll be getting into them a little bit more today. But if you'll recall, we kind of first examined stratification from more of an economic standpoint in examining the kind of history and the different systems that have occurred through stratification, such as the slavery system or the caste system, the feudal system, which kind of leads into the class system or the social class system, and we examined social class a little bit there. And then we also talked for a brief second about global inequality and how it's not necessarily just a US issue. We can take quite a few steps back and examine things from a global perspective using Immanuel Wallerstein's world systems analysis, for instance, or just kind of thinking about the lives that people experience all across the globe. We saw a couple of instances with that with the rich, the poor, and the trash documentary. And we also examined social mobility as well, thinking back into last week a little bit, I think, one of these chapters, and thinking about upward mobility versus vertical mobility, and how people kind of want to always better themselves or have their kids have a better life for them. And that was a kind of a key thing, thinking about the life chances from a Weberian point of view. And then last week we also examined race and ethnicity and the inequalities that occur there. I'm still not feeling well, so that's why you don't see my face, since I'm not very comfortable with that this week. And if I don't make any sense for whatever reason during these lectures, please feel free to email me, and I can gladly clarify things, since I'm still not feeling well, and sometimes when I have migraines and things like that, verbally I don't make much sense. So please let me know about that. But regarding the race and ethnicity chapter, we examined discrimination versus prejudice. Remember, prejudice is kind of just thinking, it's a belief system about other people. Usually it's negative, but discrimination is the actual action that goes on with that. And then today we are getting into one of my more favorite topics of stratification systems, or just in general, which is gender and sexuality. I will point out that we're going to stray a little bit for those of you following in the book. We're going to kind of take off a little bit from the book, just because your book doesn't cover some stuff that I think really should be covered. In addition to, we're going to be examining some things this week, just to kind of get it a little bit more personal with how our lives are and things like that. So just kind of a warning there. So that's basically a 4-minute wrap up of these past few weeks. Next week we'll be examining family, and then you guys are going to kind of get a week off for working on your research projects, as well as a catch-up week. That's Thanksgiving week. I like to have my students rest and get mentally well during Thanksgiving week, because finals are going to be here before we know it. So that's what we got going on, and I'll kind of explain in more detail what's going to be going on with that. But I'll end the video here, just kind of a 4.5-ish recap of these past couple weeks, and then we'll move on into the gender and stratification, or sexuality stratification chapter.